Hey fans, this is Pat Combs, former Phillies left-handed pitcher, and you're listening to Sports and Rants.
And we are back. This is Sports and Rants with Brett and Pants. I'm your host, Brett Suits, along with my co-host, Glenn Pantalone, and we are on live with special guest Verron Haynes from the Super Bowl winning Steelers team. Verron, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to have you on. So, have you been keeping up with the NFL season?
I have. I watched the game last night, and you know, I'm always an avid Steelers fan. So that's the team that I root for still.
What are your thoughts on the Steelers ever since Big Ben got hurt? Do you think they still got it?
Yeah, I think so, man. You know what? The whole chemistry of that team gelling. I thought Michael Vick did a really good job of coming in there and also like leading the team. But when he got hurt, the next man up, he came in there and he orchestrated a great comeback win for them. And I think, you know, if Ben, I don't know what his status is. You may know more. But if he's able to go, you know, I think he will. I don't think he will put himself or the team into any catastrophic long-term injury kind of crisis. So I think, you know, we have a veteran team, but more importantly, the defense is playing their butts off.
And a lot of people coming into the season thought, no doubt about it, the Steelers were going to be a Super Bowl team again. Did you think that before the season?
Absolutely. You know, it's a few teams that year in and year out, the Pats, Steelers, you can't count them out. Seahawks as of lately, and you know, there's a handful of teams every year. No matter what it may go, if they find themselves in the playoffs, they just know how to win, and you expect it's kind of an expectation around there. You kind of do it the Steelers way. You hear about it around the league whenever you play it the Pats way. And if you can't do it their way, you know, it's kind of like hit the highway.
In your opinion, what sets these teams apart going into the season what makes the Steelers organization so special that each and every year that they're a Super Bowl contending team?
Well, I think it starts at the top and it trickles down from the organization, the front, the management, Mr. Rooney, and then it trickles down into the people who handles the finances, and they try to handle the business prior to the season starting. They don't want to do business as far as getting contracts and stuff done whenever the season is going on. We kind of handle that before the season starts, so there's no bad blood, so to speak, in the locker room. So that's the first step. Next, it trickles down into the coaching staff and what their expectations is. And if you can't meet their level of play, then I guess it's the highway. And kudos goes out to the guys who never gets recognized a lot, which is the scouting department, because you have to get it right with your first, second, and third round pick, because those guys are tied up so long into contracts, and they'll be there, and that's a big part of your cap. So if you miss on a first rounder, you potentially could screw up 4 years of the salary cap. So you want to get it right with the salary cap, and we don't do a lot of free agent pickups. We don't build our team in free agency. You build your team in the draft.
Throughout the season, you can't plan for everything. One of the things you can't plan for are injuries. You had a devastating knee injury that was detrimental to your career, and we're seeing that now with Ben Roethlisberger. What are some things that a player has to go through as he comes back to the team and playing during a game that is really hard to overcome as he comes back?
Well, here's the good thing. It's the highs and lows, right? The first thing is you're hurt, and you want to be out there. Us as players, we think we could do it. It might be a little ginger, but you want to get back out there. And in retrospect, you might hurt yourself and the team. So you have to know your limitations. And then two, Ben being a veteran player as he is, I don't think he's going to really miss a beat because he's been in the system for so long. He knows he's been a leader. He's been I see him on the field, and he is like mentoring to the guys and being a extra coach on the sidelines to them. You know, I had the privilege to be he was my roommate for 5 years, so I understand the amount of work that he pours in to his studies, and that speaks for itself. He gets out there and he's playing. It shows.
We're on live with former Steelers running back Verron Haynes. Verron, could you just go into detail? You obviously got to see the progression of Ben Roethlisberger. You got to know him when he was just a young kid coming out of college, and now watching him today. How much of a difference how many changes has Ben overcome and made to his game to make him such a great quarterback?
I tell you what, I think the biggest part is his development and his growth and the process that it took. A lot of people miss the whole process. If we had asked Ben to pass more than 13 times his rookie year, that was a lot. So now you see him throwing the ball up and down the field 40 times. I'm looking at these numbers. I'm like, wow. And it's really, really insightful. And the amount, and kudos to Ben and the coaching staff for letting him develop. I think a lot of kids, when they come in, they think that they could just take on the whole magnitude of the NFL, and it's a lot of work. You got guys that are bigger, stronger, faster, yes, but also the schemes, defensive schemes, are so challenging. If you're not in the film room and investing that time, you're gonna get it. And done a good job, and so is the Steelers in letting him grow. You didn't ask him to do too much too soon.
Now, Verron, we want to get a little bit more into depth about your career. So how did you start playing football, and what made you interested?
Well, it's funny because I grew up in New York, and it's not a lot of grass fields up there. So I grew up playing basketball. We played a little soccer, but basketball was my thing. That was my first love. So when we moved to, my mother's job relocated to Atlanta, and when we moved here, I had a coach that always would get on me and talk about, you look like the Hammer, Jesse Tuggle. I didn't know who Jesse Tuggle is. All I knew is I rooted for the Giants whenever they were in the Super Bowl. I knew Phil Simms, LT. Growing up in New York, that's who you root for. All the New York teams, right? So that's all I knew about football. I got out there the first day, and I kid you not, I got ran over, stepped on, like my chest, really, like it's funny to see. And I got in there with my first carry, and I broke out 63 yards for a touchdown, and the rest is history. And I was just so amazed at how quickly I picked it up. But again, playing sports like basketball, soccer, that gives you the feet work, coordination that you need to play. And I think a big part of it, too, was I didn't get my body beat up at such a young age.
Was it football 24/7 as you were growing up? Did any other what appealed to you about football?
Well, what appealed to me at first was that you could actually take your frustrations out on somebody else. I mean, I could really go at linebacker. I could really go like deck this guy, like go all out and hit him and not get in trouble. So I guess that was fun. That was fun, and always, the cohesiveness, the bond that you build in the locker room. It's such a, I think football teaches life lessons. The ups and downs, the hurdles, the ebb and flow of life. You can't get high with the highs, and you can't get too good with the lows all the time. And keep fighting.
One thing that we see a lot of today is that kids are playing baseball year round. Now we see injuries. We see people playing basketball year round, foot injuries, and football especially. We see a lot of head injuries going into college, and even the pros. These kids already have concussions and have these head injuries. As somebody that played running back when you were young, what are your thoughts on having these kids play these sports all year round rather than taking a break, taking time off?
Well, it's funny that you say that because my son is a product of what you're saying, right? And I had a talk with his pitching coach the other day, and he said we were talking about the same topic about year-round sports, and he brought up a great point. When we were young, they had seasons. It was basketball season. It was baseball season. It was and then in the summer, it was playing time. You did nothing. It wasn't kind of like quote unquote involuntary workouts where your coaches is jotting down every time you come, right? But it's voluntary. Oh, come on. But that's the difference, I think. We gave our bodies time to heal because it was seasons for everything. You don't use the same muscles that you would in football as I do in baseball, for example. It's a difference. So those joints, ligaments kind of gets a little bit of time to rest.
Now, what was the whole process like for you growing up playing football? Did you always want to play in the NFL, and how did you take those steps to get into college and move on to the NFL?
Honestly, it was first when I started playing, and from that first carry, I was like, okay, cool, I can do this. So my goal was to get to school no matter what. I played on a full ride, a full scholarship. So I get an offer from Western Kentucky, and I went there, and it's a guy, he hate me, Rod Smart, that was just coming back, the starting tailback. And I beat him out, and then we ended up going to the 1AA semifinals into Montana. And at that point, I knew I can play this game at a high level, so I wanted to challenge myself. So I gave up that full scholarship and walked on Georgia. And for those who are listening that don't know what a walk-on is, it's kind of like you pay your own way, and you're kind of like the practice dummy, giving the team a look. You're the look squad. And I know going into it that I had to work harder than I did at Western Kentucky, and I need to put in more time as far as conditioning, as far as study, because if you're going to get looked at as a walk-on, you have to make some kind of a noise, make the coaches recognize you. So I busted my butt that year, and we ended up, after winter workouts, it took me about 6 to 8 months, and coach recognized through hard work and dedication and that who I was. He knew my name, and he actually gave me a scholarship the last day of winter workouts. And to this day, why that would be one of the highlights of my life personally is because it was my 21st birthday, and he didn't even know that. But when I called my mom, or when my mom called me, because winter workouts like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So by the time she got up, we were coming off the field, and I could hear the tears in her eyes, and she knew the kind of work that I put. A great moment for my family and me.
How difficult is that to be a walk-on at a school, maybe not have the name that, he's the big prospect coming in? How difficult is that? How difficult is it to catch the attention of coaches?
It's very difficult, no matter what, right? You have to be consistent. I'll tell you this. You do something once, okay. It's like the Rudy story. And for those who are listening that ever heard saw Rudy, and you got to you can't just show up one day and then drift away, and then you're not on scholarship. This coach didn't recruit you. He don't know who you are from Adam. Now you do it, okay. You might get on the special teams, okay. Now you might get one play. And that's your opportunity to show them what you got, right? And if you mess that up, I don't think it's coming back. I don't think you'll get the opportunity back. But you just got to stay consistent, and that's a big part of getting looked at and opportunity.
You would end up being drafted by the Steelers in round 5 in the 2002 draft. At what point with your time at Georgia did you realize that the NFL was a real possibility for you? Well,
Coach Rick, kudos to him. When he came in and he moved me from he moved me. I was starting fullback at my senior year, going into my senior year, and we had to play. And we're going in against Tennessee, and they're ranked 5th in the country at the time, and it's been 21 years to date that we had ever won up there, and it was Herschel Walker who did the run, and officially they have the catch now, and 5 seconds to go in the game. And if I tell this story without giving my kudos to Randy McMichael, who made a few catches, outstanding catches, should I say, to get us down into the red zone, and Coach Rick calls a timeout, and he calls the P44 Haynes play, which is a little fake and a dump pass to me in the middle of the end zone. And it's 100. Let me just take you to the atmosphere now. It's 110 screaming fans in Neyland Stadium. And not to mention, Travis Stevens had just broke a 63-yarder about 30 seconds ago to take the game, because it was going back and forth for a while. So he had just that stadium was it just erupted, and when he, and finally we got down there. Coach Rick, kudos to him for calling a great play at the great time, and David Green, who was a freshman at the time, who made a great, outstanding pass. But if you watch that film in slow motion, those are the passes that you're wide open in the end zone, and that ball took forever to get to me, and I almost dropped it. But thank God that I hung on a couple of seconds and reeled it in, because that it's either the outhouse or the penthouse, and I'm glad that I went to the penthouse on that play, because I was so open, and I just, and that was the point when it really dawned on me that, hey, this is a possibility. So with hard work, perseverance, again, we had and I tell you what, for the kids that's listening too, it takes a little bit of luck. And when opportunity presents itself, you have to be ready at that moment, because we had some injuries with Musa Smith, Jasper Saints. They had got banged up. They were the starting tailbacks and going into the season, and they had got banged up. And I went to Coach Rick, and I told him, I came in here. I kid you not, I went up to his office at lunchtime in between classes, and I told him, I had a meeting with him. I said, we were playing Ole Miss at the game to come, and they are frustrated because they don't know who's going to run the ball. And I went to him and I just said, I came in here the blocks and coach, not to be the fullback, but that's my natural position. So he said, you know what, V, I'm going to give you a shot. We was talking about it in the meeting room in here, so I'm going to give you a shot. So we get into Ole Miss that week, and literally it my head is spinning, but I did well enough that I made it to the press conference afterwards, and the first question out one of the interviewer's mouth was, why didn't you let him go for 200? He looked at me, looked back at the guy, and said, Well, how much did he have? He said 190, 198. He said if I would have known that, I would have gave him the ball, let him lean forward and get it. So, that was my first start at tailback. The next week we playing Georgia Tech, and I went for 207 yards, and I just started running, and that's when it became really apparent that I can do this at the next level.
Now, what was the whole draft process like going in? Did you hear rumors surrounding your name? Did you know what team you were going to go to?
No, actually, I was, still, my whole career, I've always been the underdog. So fighting was always fighting, scrapping, being graceful enough. What comes to me was always in my light. That's who I am. That's who developed. That's who Verron is, as character-wise. But I got accepted to the combine, and after the combine, the Steelers do a great job of not letting you know who they're looking for. But they had actually came, and I was told this when I got drafted. I got to the Steelers. Dick Hope had actually came to see another running back, but I did well enough and impressed him enough that I was on his radar. So I get a call come draft day by the Dallas Cowboys in the 4th round, and they said with the 4th round pick they're going to take me. Well, that went. My mom broke my mom's heart. She and it kind of broke my heart. And I think that's as hard as it did whenever I played against Dallas. So, but they took another running back, and then in the 5th round, Baltimore called me, and also the Steelers. So the Steelers asked me who was calling me. I told them all the teams that had called, and Omar Parks and Coach Hope said, if you want to be a Steeler, I wouldn't tell anybody that we're on your radar, that you're on our radar, because everybody wants to take the formula that the Steelers use and implement it into their system. So I didn't. Then that 5th round came up, and they moved up 10 spots to get me. And I'm thankful when I got there, they had a slew of running backs. I'm like, it's no way I'm ever seeing the field. And then I kind of got salty. I was like, why? I should have went to Baltimore or something. But you know what? It worked out because I found my niche at 3rd down, running back. You have to be aware of what the defense is doing, and it's a chess match out there. But you got to learn how to block, obviously, on 3rd down, catch and run, which I could do well, and also protect Big Ben. So I did that well enough. Well, at the time it was Tommy Maddox and Cordell Stewart. I'm taking you back.
No, we were there.
Right. So, and I did that well enough that I opened some eyes, and I kind of got the job going into my 2nd year, and that's my career. That was my career. The Steelers.
Now, one thing coming into the team, the Steelers were excellent, great defense, always known for that, but they also had Jerome Bettis. How much of an impact did he have on your career?
Jerome, I can't say enough about Jerome Bettis, man. He exemplifies everything that the Steeler organization is about. When you talk about a class act, his picture's next to the word in the dictionary. I mean, he develops guys on and off the field. He shows you how to be a pro. He takes you under the wings. Every year, after we had our exit meeting, he would challenge the running backs. It's your job to take my job when you come back. Each and every one of us, he would tell that to, because that entail will make him work even harder to compete when he got back. So it was, and he welcomed it with open arms, which is kudos to him, man. But not just field stuff, Certainly, back then, Howard never came down to the locker room. It was we had such a tight niche and a great veteran leadership, starting with Jerome, that he didn't have to say too much. When we won that Super Bowl, one for the thumb, he was a big instrumental part of that. But more importantly, he orchestrated the when we had lost to I believe the Colts. We had a team meeting, just players only, and we aired out our frustrations. But he orchestrated that because those are the kind of character builders that he exemplified. But only players was allowed. But Coach Cowher never had to coach as far as keeping the team to be a team. He and the veteran leaderships that we had, Joey Porter, Hines Ward, Marvell Smith, you talk about Fua Matumalafala, Kimo, Von Haven. We had such a core, Dwayne Washington. We had a lot of guys that he didn't have to come down in the locker room, and I think that is where I see the NFL is missing in a lot of locker rooms. That leadership to kind of take the younger guys underneath the wings and to say, no, that's not the way to go.
You mentioned how everybody wanted to copy the Steelers system. How has the style of running back changed with the Steelers from your time with Jerome Bettis to now with Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, well, now I think more so happened. They are a passing team, and it's a balanced offense, so to speak. They pass more. Le'Veon Bell, man, what a dynamic back he is, and I love when he gets the ball because you could just see bad things that's about to happen to that defense. And I was rooting for him to win the championship, the running back title last year. He came up a little short, but he'll have an opportunity. He'll have another opportunity at it, I'm sure, throughout his career. But I think the part now is the line, right? When I was there, we had those big guys that we knew it was run first, run second, run third, run fourth, maybe pass, right? And that was our dynamics. That was the Steelers' way. Play great defense, sound defense, and that kept us fresh. We controlled the ball. We controlled the line of scrimmage, methodically moved the ball down the field, and kept our defense fresh. When they came in there, they just cleaned up 3 and out all the time and created turnovers. But I think now when I look at the Steelers, they're more balanced, which is not a bad thing because the offense, this team that they have built is built for exactly what they're looking for, and it makes the game a little bit more entertaining.
Now, we want to get a little bit into that Super Bowl team that you were with. What made that team so special going into the season?
I think it was the veteran leadership. Jerome, again, the guy who you pinpointed a while back ago, we knew that he had came up short before, and he was on the fence of even coming back for another season, and when we and then was in his hometown, which gave it that extra oomph. And we kind of, when that players meeting, we were the first team to ever be the 6th seed and then win every game on the road and win a Super Bowl. So that was the defining moment in our lives. I think that was the defining moment in that season. But prior to the season, we knew we had to play for him.
Now, one thing that people wonder about that team is, as you mentioned, the defense was just so good. In your opinion, is it the offense or the defense that wins championships? And what was it that season?
No doubt in my mind, defensive wins championships. We had special guys on that team. You look at a guy like Troy Polamalu. You look at a guy like Chris Hope, who helped him in his life, learn that position well, and then you have Ryan Clark that was back that came in and facilitated that in developing Troy. But Troy, he's a special player, no doubt about it. But Casey Hampton, who doesn't get a lot of press, but that 3-4 defense, you need a guy like Casey Hampton to make that defense work. Because when you see him taking on 3 people and then still like monstrously just making a tackle, that gets the motor going, and it frees up the linebackers for them to do what they do. For some years there, when they were struggling on defense, I think that was the big key element missing. They didn't have a nose. If you're running a 3-4, the nose has to be a beast mode. And Marshawn Lynch, right? He has to be beast mode, and because he has to free up the linebackers to make them be successful.
Now, one thing that we remember a lot is the touchdowns, the big run by Willie Parker. What are some of your favorite moments from that season, and what sticks out to you?
In that season, I think the highlights were all, but honestly, I'll go back to it. When we had lost against the Colts that time, and we knew we were going to see them again, and Peyton Manning was there, and we went into that players only meeting. I think that was the defining moment of that season. We had started off the season actually, and Jerome and Deuce was hurt, so Willie and myself were the 2 backs up, and for a while there, we for like 3-4 games, I believe, we were the backs. That was it. And we took a beating, but we handled it. We managed very well, and we fed off each other. And then when Jerome and Deuce came back, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air, because they had fresh legs, and everybody who knows football, as whenever you cold up there in the wintertime, you don't want to see a 200 and plus pound back. I'm not going to disclose how big he was, but you don't want to see a head start with Jerome coming downhill, and you got to face him in the cold weather. So I think that gave him enough gas in the tank, because he was towards the tail end of his career. So those little 4 games, or 5 games, and then being able to come in at the right moment, I think helped him, sustain for the end.
As a player throughout the season, is there really ever any defining moment that you can pinpoint that you thought?
It's so many. You think about it. If we don't get that win, or we don't pick up a 3rd down, or if the defense don't stop him, if Troy doesn't jump over the top and sack that quarterback, and do what he do what Troy does at any given moment, I think it's the body of work in the season that really makes it special, and all the sweat, blood, and tears that go into it. But at the time, you really are not thinking about that. You can't even let yourself reflect until after it's all said and done. I think what I remember mostly about it is playing one game, one play at a time. That was the only time in my whole career that I've ever did that. I didn't look, and I didn't even know who we were playing next until that game was over, and then we started preparing for the next team. But and the season flew by. By the time I looked up, I was like, wow, man, there's 2 teams left, and it's us in Seattle. And it kind of flew by because you were embracing every moment of it and being in the moment. And we watched the movie, my son and I, and my daughter did too. The Peaceful Warrior, and that's what it talks about, just living and being in the moment. And that season, I think we all embodied that.
How about going into the season? Did you think that could be a Super Bowl team?
Absolutely. Every year, if you don't play for a ring, what are you playing for? When you're out there, and we prepared hard, and you as an athlete, you push yourself, and I worked out about 3-4 times a day, and that's just what you have to be a well-oiled machine, in the league. And kudos to the guys who do it, but sometimes they come up short. But every year, if you're not looking for or for better, or trying to get a Super Bowl, what are you playing for, really?
Well, Verron, can you please tell our listeners what you're doing since retirement? What has been keeping you active?
Well, since retirement, I my first 3 years in the NFL, what I did was I interned with Morgan Stanley. So, as of recently, I just stopped that, but I was with Morgan Stanley and then I went to B of A as a financial advisor. And before that, prior to that, I was a ESPN commentator, and that was keeping me on the road I was always on the road because it was ESPN International. So we went to every English-speaking country outside the U.S.
Wow.
But now, yeah, I know, right? It was fun. I racked up the frequent flyer miles, that's for sure. And I relished it. But now I'm actively coaching with my son with baseball, football. I'm chasing my daughter around with gymnastics. My older one is starting to drive. We just bought her a car, so that's scary. So that keeps me up at nighttime. And doing the Verron Haynes Foundation, which this month is big with breast cancer awareness, and I have a property management company and we're doing really well. So it's really about the family life and giving back. That's my main concern right now. Being a contributor of society. And here's a great thing. Tonight, kudos to the NFL as we're speaking for them, with it being the 50th year of the NFL history. They have done an outstanding job of giving back to every Super Bowl guy who have won a Super Bowl. If you want to, they're giving a golden ball to your high school that you played at. So tonight I'm honoring my high school, North Springs High School, with a Super Bowl ball, with a gold Super Bowl ball, 50th year of Super Bowl of NFL history.
Oh, that's really neat. We didn't know about that. Did the NFL reach out to you about doing that?
Yes. Every guy who played who won a Super Bowl, they emailed and called, and you had either the choice of either doing it yourself, providing a video, or just sending the ball personally with a message attached to it to your high school, and those are the guys who are playing, obviously. But right now, I have the honor to just go back to my high school, which is going to be, really a humbling experience for me, and give my high school with a gold ball, and honor them for the product that they put out there.
Well, Verron, before we let you go, one question we like to ask a lot of the former players that join us is, do you ever hope to get back into football like the NFL? Do you ever hope to coach maybe college or at the highest level?
You know what? I for years said I would never coach, and I find myself doing it year in and year out, and I'm trying to get so, and this is at the little league level, but I wouldn't say no. As far as the NFL, I don't know. I don't know if I ever want to get that level. The highest that I think I would want to go is college, where I can develop talent, because I think it's a lot of talent out there, and these guys sometimes just need the extra outlet, or somebody who's been there, done that, to say, hey, you're doing it the wrong way. So as far as NFL, I wouldn't say totally count it out, but my goal, if I ever had to do it, would be stopping at college, and so I can get the purity out of these guys.
Well, Verron, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciated your time, and we learned a lot.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and who do you guys root for? Let me ask you that.
We're Eagles fans.
Oh, no doubt. and you guys, I wish you success this weekend. Fingers crossed. Who you guys got?
Panthers.
Panthers.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Now you got Superman that's that's unveiling his coat every touchdown. So kudos to you and good luck to that.
Yeah, thank you. The Eagles haven't played up to par on offense, so
I wasn't going to be the guy who said that. You guys have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
This is Brett Suto from the hit sports show Sports and Rants with Brett and Pants. Listen to us live every Friday from 12 to 2 to hear some tremendous interviews such as Troy Vincent, Billy Cunningham, Keith Jones, Frank Coonelly, and DeAndre Bembry. Follow us on Twitter at Sports and Rants, and like us on Facebook, Sports and Rants with Brett and Pants. Check us out today.